Hey everybody, this is DM Mike, and this is the next campaign diary for DOIP. We just finished up session 7, which we called Return to Axeholm. Now, here are the stats from last week's game. Matter of fact, I haven't looked at them, so I'll just let them, the numbers speak for themselves. I remember there being a huge number of natural 20s that particular night. The night was split, I think it was like 5 hours of play, and we split up 2 hours in Phandalin, and the last 3 were taken up in Axeholm, clearing out the last remaining creatures. And boy, Axeholm had a way of just kicking them right in the tenders twice and making it very, very difficult. But it was a victory well earned. But we had a great night, a lot of jokes, a lot of fits of laughter that took quite a few minutes to recover from. I need to start writing some of the stuff down that we say, because I think they would make great t-shirts and probably excellent coffee mugs at some point. It's a new thing I need to keep track of, along with all these other stats that I had been keeping track of. I'm sure you go through this too. There's probably a lot of things you say at your table that probably would make for great posters, great t-shirts and whatnot coming out of your sessions. A lot of the stuff needs context, so it doesn't quite work, but there are some things that are just outrageous that would just be hilarious to put or to advertise on a poster, a coffee mug, or heck, even a t-shirt. But we spent the first 2 hours there in Phandalin before we made the trip to Axeholm. What's his face? Norbus ended up joining them for this adventure. He heard they were going back to Axeholm and didn't want them to go alone. He felt like, hey, that Banshee's there. Plus, it's a dwarven stronghold. I'm a dwarf. Let me come with you. So him and Brash had a duel outside of the inn. Brash was kind of like, I don't know if you're really strong enough or capable enough to join us here on this adventure. And so they kind of each grabbed a big plank of wood outside. You've seen my map here, Phandalin. Everything's under construction, right? So it's easy to find something that wasn't, that could be a makeshift weapon. And they kind of dueled it out there, and they were smacking each other left and right. Matter of fact, Norbus missed quite often because Brash is a monk and moved very, very quickly. But, in the end, they kind of, I think William intervened and said, hey, knock this stuff out. He's coming with us. Everything's fine. So he decided to join the adventure. It was allowed to join the adventure. The character spent some time going around Phandalin after discovering all these different orc totems that have been placed in all kinds of different areas. They decided to take a look around Phandalin and make sure there was no more of these totems around. They did find one in the graveyard that had been there for a very long time, hadn't corrupted anything as far as they know, especially the graves. And the funny thing is, after this adventure that night, I thought to myself, man, if I ever run this again, that's a great place for suddenly a zombie encounter to happen in Phandalin when one of those totems is placed next to the graveyard, which, in the original map, there's nothing like this. I have added this to my adventure, added this to the custom map. But I thought, hey, that'd be great. In the middle of the night, suddenly zombies come out of nowhere, and they're like, what the hell? Where'd these things come from? Well, they came from the actual graves of Phandalin, where the orcs had planted this cursed totem. I thought that'd be a great idea. Hopefully the next time I play this, which I will play it another time, I'm adding that in. Now, before they left in the following morning, they decided, Glim decided to play a very elaborate practical prank. Is it practical prank? Practical joke or prank? It's more of a prank on Wester before they left. Now, I think a couple sessions ago, Brash was whittling away and making this fake orc totem that they were going to use to scare Wester, because he had been in on some of the meetings with Carson and the players looking at these totems and like, oh my gosh, these are showing up everywhere and they're cursed, they're awful, awful. And Wester did not want anything to do with them. They want them destroyed, get them out of Phandalin. Well, they wanted to play this prank, and Glim spent 2 weeks, real time, 2 weeks, thinking about this prank. And it really went off without a hitch. A little help with the cat, Nicodemus, who kind of sensed something was going on, didn't know exactly what, but ran a little bit of interference for Glim as he turned himself invisible and snuck into the town hall, going door to door. He went to Wester's office, but it was locked. But then Wester had come into the office after inspecting some goods that were going to Neverwinter from Phandalin, and the cat was just sitting in the hallway. He said hello to the cat and went to his office, unlocked the door. Glim slipped in, and he planted a fake totem in the office, like next to one of the bookshelves there, and just left it there. And I think he placed some kind of spell on it, like something with the mouth, where it just talks and it'll say something, it'll do something every time someone looks at it. I think that's right. I don't even know what the spell's called, but he basically cast that spell, and he started using, I think, thaumaturgy or something. I can't remember. I'm terrible with spells, absolutely terrible. But he started making noise in the office and tried to get Wester's attention to look at the statue. Eventually he did, and of course the statue starts to say all these terrible, terrible things to Wester, and he is completely scared out of his pants. He goes pale. He starts to shiver. He's screaming uncontrollably. He goes to run out of the office, and while Glim is invisible, he casts some kind of illusion down the hallway to make it look like fire and brimstone. And in the middle of the hallway still is the cat just sitting there looking at him, and it's all getting warped and changing shape, and Wester is hearing this cursed idol behind him just saying all these awful things, and the hallway's on fire, and it's just in that moment his mind snaps, and he gets a permanent madness effect planted on him because of just how devious this prank was. It was like a really bad episode of Jackass. So we rolled a 100-sided die, and basically I think the kind of handicap he was dealt was now he thinks he has an imaginary friend that he's always talking to. So it was a big, elaborate prank that I didn't see coming. I thought they were just going to get ready and then go to Axeholm. That would be the next part of the adventure. But man, it was a lot of improv and trying to make all that work, and it turned out to be a lot of fun. And now I'm going to have to deal with a town master with with a bout of madness attached to him. So they got everybody together the next morning and left to Axeholm. They traveled, took a full day to get there. And of course, when they got there, this is what I changed up. Now, I didn't add anything to this adventure. I didn't add anything to Axeholm because let's be frank, it's pretty difficult as it is the way it's set up. Well, when they got there, they were surprised, Norbus specifically because he has arachnophobia, giant spiders had made their way down into the lower halls. Why? Well, the last time they were there, they left all the bodies of the ghouls, so the spiders who are hungry started pushing through all the walls, right? So they made these huge openings in the walls and crawled down to the lower halls and started gathering all the bodies one by one and bringing them back up to the nest. So they encountered 2 spiders right off the bat. They sent an owl in, I think familiar to the wizard, to kind of scope out the place. Okay, where are these other spiders? There's something else, because they saw this. There were 2 in the foyer. One left, started going up the stairs, dragging this webbed nest of ghouls back to their nest, and they wanted to make sure, okay, where is it coming back? Where is it going? So they fought the first spider. They made a lot of noise and made the second spider come down, took care of that, right? So easy peasy, lemon squeezy, right? They got rid of 2 spiders, but they were more cautious now because they thought, okay, not only the Banshee is here, but now we have possibly maybe some ghouls scattered around, but we also got now giant spiders. Now we gotta be careful. Well, they made their way up the steps just like they did last time, and they came to the Banshee, and the Banshee knew they were there. It had the life sense, right? So it knew it was them, and it knew they had come back, and it was ready for them. And boy, did this thing just blow up in everybody's face. I mean, it was a good combat encounter. It took 2.5, 3 hours to get through this encounter. There were so many ups and downs. It was a roller coaster encounter that these things keep occurring in this adventure. It's just up and down. People dying, coming back, dying, coming back. It's over and over and over again. It was, I thought, actually, there was a moment I did think this was going to be a TPK, that they had a good second attempt here. They came in well prepared. They kind of knew the spiders were new, but they kind of knew, what was there, what was left, and they knew that their focus was on the Banshee. And I tell you, there was one moment in this encounter that just changed everything. But going back to the opening, those opening moments, the Banshee knew she was there. Now, the last time they encountered her, I used the scare tactic, or her scare ability, whatever it is. And you know what? It didn't really work. It just didn't really work, and I thought the Banshee's not going to use it again because it's the same people. She's used it already, and last time they didn't run scare like they were supposed to. So I waited patiently as they crept in and started combat. I waited for them all to get within about 30 feet of the Banshee to shoot off or to ignite the spell Wail, or her just ability, the Wail spell. And that is when everything changed. In that moment, they had managed to get a couple hits on her. She did crippling touch on William, who got a little too close to her. And it was in those moments, though, that I realized, okay, she's going to die. This Banshee, I think, is now going to get her butt kicked by at least William, I think, who hits the hardest here. They are really causing some damage. So I really need to get this Wail ability off, because I think she would feel like, I'm about to die. I'm taking these people out. Well, this time the spiders intervened after she had done the crippling touch, and all this noise was happening in the hallway. Well, here come the spiders, 4 right down one of the main hallways there. And of course, this frightened Glim, who was at the back of the combat, naturally, and so he ran away. And so he was the only one who was not within 30 feet on the next round when I was getting ready to set off that Wail power. Sounds like, like a whale. Not that kind of whale, like a screaming whale. But he was the only one. I thought, I got to do this. She's going to die. I got to do this. So I shot off the whale power, and 3 people out of 5 dropped. It was Brash, Rav, and Norbus, who only got maybe 1 hit in. And, before this was very braggadocious, saying he was going to be there, he was going to help, he was going to be an asset to them, and he was one of the ones who dropped as well. And that changed everything. That changed everything on the battlefield, because now here come the spiders, and I was rolling so well with them. I was recharging their webs over and over and over again, having them stay up high and move around. People were running all over the place. I felt sorry for Brash, who spent the entire night just dropping to 0 hit points, doing death saves, coming up for like 5 hit points, getting hit again, dropping back down, doing death saves, coming up again, dropping back down, death saves, over and over and over again. She must have died like 6 times in that adventure. And eventually, one of the spiders who knocked her down cast her in webbing and dragged her off the battlefield. That spider and her disappeared for the next like 3 or 4 rounds. They didn't know where she was. She'd been completely dragged off. And there were many times they were trying to web them and then bring them back to the nest, and somebody would just pop up, or the owl would come in screeching and shooting flame and burning all the webs. I mean, it was pretty challenging adventure. Well, a combat. And there was one moment I kind of felt like, my God, am I harassing my players? I was just rolling so well. Again, I wish I had my notes. I think we did like 9 natural 20s in a 2-hour combat. I mean, people who were at least standing were really hitting pretty hard, but people just, the spiders weren't going down, or I was webbing people left and right, knocking them prone. They were burning up spells and abilities just to try to get back on their feet, wasting actions trying to cut out a webbing. It was pretty insane. I've ran spiders before. I have ran them, and I think I was not as seasoned with them at the time, and so they were slightly difficult, but this time they were even more difficult, and really because half the party had dropped. Had not the 3 people out of 5 dropped, it would not have been as difficult. But it was a teeter-totter effect. Just one goes up, one goes down, one goes up. I mean, it's over and over and over again, and people are having to make decisions on, like, do I bring this person up? They may last another round, or do I hit this next spider, because most likely it's going to web me or it's going to web the other person. So there were a lot of hard decisions to make in that combat encounter, and that makes for a great combat encounter. So I had a lot of fun. I think they had a lot of fun. But, they finally, the tables started to turn. They got all the spiders. Matter of fact, they got down to like 2 spiders, and those spiders were so wounded, I was actually trying to get them out of there. They would have ran away. I think they naturally would have ran away, and that's exactly what I was trying to do. But they managed to hit them as they were retreating and knock them out. They finally ran after, searching for Brash. They found it in the web. They killed the nest. They killed the last spider. And the last thing we did was, I think it was Glim, who got down on his knees and cut her out of the webbing, was holding her. And she kind of came to, looking up to her like, what happened? And that's where we ended it. And they finally cleared Axeholm. So if you're running this adventure, this is probably the toughest area to overcome, I think, because it has all kinds of different enemies. And of course, you could modify this, take it away, add things. I didn't do any of that. As a matter of fact, I made it more difficult, adding a few more hit points to a lot of things because they were already hitting pretty hard. I think that's what you naturally have to do anyway. But I didn't add anything else. And as it is, Axeholm is pretty darn difficult. And they were at 2nd level, I think, when they tried it the first time. This time they were at 4th level. Silvered their weapons, bought a lot of magical items with them, a lot of potions and different things, and they still had a hard time with it. So just keep that in mind. But anyway, fun session, a lot of laughter, a lot of great combat, a lot of tense combat, more so than I think even in Rise of Tiamat at times and Horde of the Dragon Queen. I had a great time during those campaigns, but for whatever the reason, maybe we're all getting a little more seasoned. It just was a lot of fun, and I couldn't believe it sometimes staring at the screen going, what is happening? Like, how am I winning? How am I winning this? I mean, I really kind of felt bad a little bit, but I felt like, nope, this is how they're going to play. They are evil. They're going to push through, and they're going to make mincemeat out of these characters. But anyway, guys, that's all I got for you. We play we're not sure. We're going to play this Friday. Axeholm is now finished. That means it's a sanctuary for Fanlin. In case the dragon does come back, so that's some good news. So what's left on the plate is Logger's Camp. That's the next little area, and also the Circle of Thunder. And then we start to come into the final moments of Dragon of Icespire Peak. It wouldn't surprise me if this spider encounter is going to be harder. Okay, let me start that over. It wouldn't surprise me if what we just did at Axeholm turns out to be more difficult, more challenging than the actual dragon itself. Who knows? All right, guys. See you in the next one.